This is a story from when I was 25 years old. My name is Daniel. Back then, at the workplace where I was employed, there was a junior colleague 2 years younger than me, named Emily. Emily, a fresh graduate just out of university, was still learning the ropes in the corporate world. I was assigned to be Emily's mentor. However, I was only in my second year at the job. Since no new recruits had joined the previous year, I had been the most junior employee until very recently. Although I had become quite accustomed to my own work, teaching someone else proved to be quite a challenge. I struggled a lot with mentoring my junior colleague. Moreover, Emily was a rather outspoken junior. In the first week, she listened obediently, but as she got a bit more comfortable, she started teasing me, even though I was her senior. "Hey, Daniel, you're pretty good at teaching today. Your way of explaining things was really good." Such teasing became a part of our daily routine. Being a naturally non-confrontational person, I simply laughed it off whenever Emily said such things. Indeed, Emily was quick to learn and excelled at her job. She was bright and popular, in stark contrast to me, who didn't have many friends during my student days. Her charismatic personality made her a well-liked figure in the office, even with her outspokenness. Honestly, I found someone as savvy as Emily quite difficult to handle. "Daniel, do you want to grab dinner after this?" We often ended up working late at the office, just the two of us, to finish tasks to the next day. Each time, Emily would invite me like that. "I'll passive, I'm tired today." I always declined with such flimsy excuses. While someone as outgoing as Emily might find it easy to go for impromptu drinks with the boss, I found the idea of dining with coworkers tiring, especially if it was with Emily. However, there came a time when our company organized a drinking party. It was practically mandatory for everyone to attend, so I had no choice but to go. While my colleagues were whooping it up, I was off to the side, quietly enjoying my barbecue alone. Fortunately, since I was sitting at the end of the table, I felt relieved knowing that my lack of participation in the conversation wouldn't spoil the mood too much. Little did I know, that was a naive assumption. "Daniel, you're not drinking much, are you?" Emily took a seat next to me. "Geez." Already tipsy, Emily, holding an orange cocktail, started chatting with me. I can only imagine how annoying she must be when drunk, given how loud she is when sober. I probably had a look of dismay on my face, but Emily kept talking, completely unfazed. "Do you have a girlfriend?" There it is. Girls always want to talk about stuff like this. I really don't want to talk about it. As I struggled to respond, "He's got a girlfriend," interjected Madison, a senior colleague sitting across from me, answering on my behalf. At that moment, I was taken aback. How did she know that? I wondered. I had only ever discussed such personal matters with my peers at the company. That meant someone among my peers must have told Madison. Seeing the surprised look on my face, Emily asked, "Wow, Daniel, you have a girlfriend. What's she like?" "It's none of your business." Emily would probably just spread it around anyway. I sighed, and answered reluctantly. "She's a college classmate. We ran into each other about a year ago and decided to start dating," I explained. Hearing this, Emily looked at me with a smirk and said, "Oh, really?" Feeling somewhat mocked, I decided to ask her in return. "What about you, then?" She sighed deeply and answered, "I have someone too." Her expression seemed far removed from her usual cheerful demeanor. I was curious about why she looked that way, but just then, Emily received a phone call and had to step away. "She's like a whirlwind," I thought, taking a moment to breathe. Then, sitting across from me, Madison commented, "That call just now, probably her boyfriend, I guess," I said, uninterested, just to brush it official. But then, I heard something that I couldn't just ignore. Emily's boyfriend is super controlling, I've heard, and he's even violent. What? Even if I didn't like my junior colleague, I couldn't just ignore that. Why do you know that? I asked Madison. She replied, actually, my sister used to work part-time with Emily during their student days, and she told me about it. Before I could ask more, Emily returned, ending our conversation. But I couldn't believe that Emily, who always seemed so carefree and cheeky, was enduring such a difficult situation. I didn't have any proof, so I left the party somewhat skeptical. After the party, Emily was just as she always was. She continued to tease me as usual, laughing carelessly. No way, she can't be a victim of abuse. Maybe Madison's sister got it wrong. I watched Emily at the office, but saw no sign of distress. Just as I was starting to firmly believe this thought, I, unusually, was able to leave work on time. But upon arriving at the station, I realized I had left my commuter pass back at the office and had to return. When I got there and saw the lights still on, I wondered if someone was working overtime. Peeking in, I thought, oh no, seeing that Emily was the only one left. When I mentioned I had come back for my forgotten pass, she teased, "You're really forgetful, aren't you, Daniel? What were you doing here?" I asked. Trying to divert the conversation, Emily, looking puzzled, responded, "Reviewing. Just reviewing." Reviewing. That was a term I hadn't heard since elementary school. Unsure of what she meant, I went over to Emily's desk. There, I found a small note covered in dense writing, her usual notebook. This was the notebook that Emily always carried with her. When I looked at her computer, it showed tasks related to the notes she had written. I'm not very smart, so I can't remember everything in one go. I'm just reviewing what I've been taught by my seniors, she explained. The number of notebooks spread out on her desk made it clear she wasn't lying. So, Emily wasn't naturally good at her job. She had been secretly working hard to become competent. And there I was, unfairly assuming she was just flaunting her abilities. Suddenly, I felt sorry for how I had thought of her. "So, do you think I'm cute and admirable now?" Emily asked, laughing. Despite everything, she still managed to irk me a bit. "There's no way that's true," I blurted out, getting a bit heated. Suddenly, Emily's usual smile vanished. "Really? I was just joking. Sorry," I apologized, thinking I had hurt her, but her expression remained unchanged. Did I say something so terrible? After all, she's the one who's always messing around. As I pondered over what to do, Emily began to speak. "I guess I'm just not cute, am I?" This was a statement I never expected to hear from Emily. At first, I thought she was joking, but it soon became clear she wasn't. My boyfriend always tells me that I'm not charming. When I try to act more feminine, he accuses me of trying to attract other men. If I act cheerful like a boy, he says I'm mocking him. No matter what I do, I'm just not right. It's like I deserve to be hit or kicked. After all, only someone like him would ever like me. Emily spoke these words dispassionately, as if something inside her had snapped. This isn't the Emily I know, and the abuse, it's real. My mind was spinning, and I couldn't find the words to say. People say birds of a feather flock together, right? Having an abusive boyfriend means I'm a terrible person too. Her words echoed in the quiet office, just the two of us. I wanted to say something, but nothing came to mind. Codependency, right? I had heard that even in a relationship that others might view as toxic, the people involved feel needed and can't leave. Anything I could say seemed hollow, as I wasn't the one in the situation. Sensing my confusion, Emily forced a laugh and said, "Just kidding," and began tidying her desk. A part of me felt relieved at her words, but I quickly realized it was a lie. I thought I saw Emily's hands tremble as she put away her notes. I stopped overthinking. I decided to speak my mind right then and there. That's what I thought. Isn't that your way of sending an SOS? You told me because you want help, right? Stop lying to yourself and pretending not to see it. As I spoke, Emily's movements halted completely. She looked down and asked, pretending not to see. That's right. Aren't you the one putting a lid on your own feelings, thinking you can change the situation, thinking that only such people would like you? Isn't that just your own assumption? There are plenty of people who like you, even without looking for them. I couldn't see Emily's expression, so I had no idea how she was reacting. I worried that I might be off the mark. But at that moment, my concern for Emily outweighed my anxiety. You too. Caught up in my thoughts, I was taken aback by her unexpected question. What? Do you like me too, Daniel? Of course, my use of like had no hidden meaning. It was just to convey that everyone at the office thought highly of Emily. So, I should take it in the same sense, but her question still caught me off guard. Well, yeah, I like you. Emily surely understood the nuance. As a senior, it wasn't the time to be bashful. I said it without showing my embarrassment. And it was true that I had recently stopped thinking of Emily as someone I disliked. Interacting with the bright Emily had become a part of my daily routine, and I found her cute as a junior who would tease me but still talk with a smile. The more I watched her, the more I noticed her good qualities. Wait, what? I felt a sense of discomfort. Looking back, I realized I had always been seeking out Emily at work. No way, that can't be. After all, I have a girlfriend, Ashley, and I'm not the least bit interested in cheating. But then, I realized. I was trying to put a lid on my true feelings, but I had just told Emily not to do that very thing. Thank you, Daniel. You're surprisingly kind. Emily smiled at me, a slightly different smile than usual, and left the office. I stood there, rooted to the spot, unable to shake her image from my mind. From then on, I couldn't stop thinking about Emily. Even when I was with my girlfriend, Ashley, I found myself reminiscing about Emily, to the extent that Ashley noticed and said I had become suddenly cold, even though I had no intention of being so. I started feeling guilty towards Ashley. I never intended for this to happen. I had loved spending time with Ashley, who was as quiet as me and shared similar interests, but I couldn't go back to feeling that way anymore. I told Ashley we needed to break up. When she asked why, tears streaming down her face, I thought the least I could do was give her a straight answer, so ironically, by saying I've fallen for someone else, I confirmed my own feelings. I had fallen for Emily, the junior colleague I used to dislike so much. As for Emily, she continued to interact with me as usual after that day, leaving me unsure of what to do. Emily had a boyfriend, and I didn't want to upset him by making a move. Besides, confessing and getting rejected would make things awkward at work. About a year passed without me making a decisive confession. Then, I was assigned to a one-year overseas assignment. This was an honorable opportunity, something I had aimed for since joining the company. But the only regret I had was not being able to see Emily anymore. However, lacking courage, I left for abroad without confessing to Emily, maintaining our unchanged relationship of a cheeky junior and a hesitant senior. On the day of departure, I headed to the airport alone. But when I arrived at the airport lobby, I saw Emily there. "Why are you here?" I blurted out in surprise. "Can't I be here?" Emily retorted with a slight pout and a deliberately annoying expression. "It's not that you can't be here." I was actually delighted. Extremely delighted. But even in such a moment, I couldn't express myself properly and ended up with a half-hearted response. "Without you, Daniel, I'll have no one to tease. It'll be boring. I'll miss having a cheeky junior like you too." Even at the very end, I found myself saying such things. "Can't I just say thank you for coming?" Despite my feelings, time was ticking closer to my flight. Well then, I should go. As I stood up from my chair, Emily, with her usual bright smile, said, "Safe travels." The moment I saw that smile, I was overwhelmed with an indescribable sense of affection. I couldn't bear the thought of not seeing that smile anymore. I wondered if she had broken up with her boyfriend, if she was no longer in pain. There were still so many things I didn't know about her, even though she was right in front of me, but if I could protect her with my own hands. I felt like I had finally uncovered the true feelings I had been hiding deep in my heart. With that realization, I couldn't hold back any longer and blurted out, "I like you." Emily's eyes widened in surprise. If Emily feels the same way, if she still feels the same after a year, I hope she'll be waiting here for me. Having said that, I suddenly felt embarrassed and, without waiting for Emily's response, departed for my overseas journey. As time passed, I often berated myself, thinking, why did I say that? Maybe I freaked her out. Did she think I've been watching too many dramas? But time flies. Working hard overseas, a year passed before I knew it. And finally, the day of my return arrived. I went to the promised place, but nobody was there. Of course, she wouldn't be. I felt embarrassed for having hoped. Just as I was about to head home alone with that thought in mind, "Daniel," I heard a familiar voice calling from behind. Turning around, there was Emily. Her shoulder-length bob had grown to collarbone length, giving her a more mature appearance. I was surprised at how my heart raced. Unable to speak due to a mix of emotions, Emily teasingly asked, "Did you think I wouldn't come?" I nodded honestly. "I like you too, Daniel. Probably even before you did. So, the moment you said those words, I decided to be here today." Emily's smile was the same one I had found so endearing that day, and I felt tears of relief welling up, knowing I was back and our feelings had connected. Emily, as usual, laughed and teased me even as I cried, but I had come to find even those moments blissful. It seems I've completely fallen for her. While I was abroad, Emily had confronted her feelings and broken up with her boyfriend. She believed in my words that many people like you and, with the help of friends, was able to part ways amicably. Emily often thanks me for those words I struggled to say, but it's her brightness and straightforwardness that have been saving me every day. I feel like even I've become brighter, a far cry from my once cynical self. It's an incredible gift in return. Being so different, perhaps it's our contrasting traits that draw us together, leading to happy days. The day Emily bravely opened up to me. The coincidence of me returning for something I had forgotten. And tracing it all back, the fact that we joined the same company. All these encounters have shaped us into who we are today. Despite the pain and hurt along the way, my wish to make Emily happy is more certain than ever. 2 years have passed since then, and today is our wedding day. And now, we're about to become husband and wife.